Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's great to be back with you. We didn't have a show Monday. We obviously aren't going to have a show Thursday because it's July 4th, big day. And wanted to make sure we got a show to you this week. I just got back from Key West, and boy, are my arms tired. No, I am tired. I can tell you that much. It was fun. We had a lot of fun. Went to a lot of different bars. My wife and I, the last day we were saying, how many different bars do we go to? And it was the number, I think it was 10. But again, we went twice the first night with friends. We to two different places. We went anyway. We had a good time, and that's all you really care about, right? We got good shows for you coming up. Ben Troupe is going to join us today. Of course, you know him well from his 84 podcast. And then Coach Spurrier will be back with us on Monday. As far as I know, that's the way it's been set up. Yeah, but he'll be back Monday. And then next Thursday, Billy Henson is going to join us. Billy Henson, of course, is a member of the Great Wall of Florida, which most people consider to be the greatest offensive line that ever existed. And he's trying to get a little bit of recognition for that 84 team. And I'm right there with him. The university's kind of pushed them away a little bit, and they want them to wait till 50. And like he made a good point. Jeff Zimmerman just passed away. He's not going to be around to see a celebration. They're hoping to do that, so he's going to join us. We'll talk about those days too, and about all the stuff that was going on Thursday. So let us get to our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you by Process Service of Gainesville. Scott Hart, who does a great job with that. Let's start off with number one, and that is, if you were watching the SEC network this week, and you probably got a little sick of the Texas-Oklahoma love. And look, I get why they did it. They made such a big deal out of Texas and Oklahoma. It was official on July 1st, but everybody knew they were coming. Everybody's been talking about it for 2 years. It's not like it's a big surprise, and but the SEC is trying to make sure that they're welcome. Well, I don't care that they feel welcome or not. I don't. Them coming into the league is great for the league. It ain't great for Florida, and that's what I care about is Florida. It's not great for Georgia. It's not great for Arkansas. It's not great for Tennessee. It's not great for anybody to bring in two great programs in all sports into your league, but it's good for the league. You'll get more teams in. There was a thing I saw today on the new playoffs and everything, and how it's going to be different, and what this expansion, everything was going to mean. And I was like, I still can't tell you who's in what conference. I think Oklahoma State is in the Big 12 still. I think they are. But they may not be. I don't even know. I'm going to study up on it a little more later. But anyway, Texas and Oklahoma, yeah, great. You're in. Got good programs, good sports, 4-time national champion softball, great. So what are you going to do for us? That's what I want to know. What are you going to do for me? Anyway, they'll find out that it's different in the SEC. Let's just leave it at that. Now, how you define what different is depends on your way of looking at it. It is going to be different, though, than what you're used to. The football's going to be better, but, this is Texas, for example, handled Alabama last year. I mean, it's not like this is big boy football and they haven't been playing it, but it's going to get harder for everybody, just a little bit harder. Because you don't have as many, I think more than anything, you don't have as many bottom feeders, and even the mediocre teams, are pretty good in this conference. But anyway, we'll see how it all affects them. All right, number two, the Olympic trials were going on all the time we were down in the Keys, and we tried to watch as much as we could. We did make sure we watched this one highlight, and we were watching it live when it happened. And it's our Campus USA play of the weekend. And once you play in my golf tournament, great things happen to you. And here goes a guy who was in my golf tournament. That is Grant Holloway in the yellow there running in the 110 hurdles. And he is awesome. He's just so good. We were so nervous watching it, getting ready to start. So nervous, my wife and I, because we love Grant and we've met him and talked to him and a lot of times, and he was a big part of our tournament this year, and we're going to try to get him on at some point. It may be after the Olympics, but at some point we'll try to get him on. But that was our Campus USA play of the weekend. But there were a lot of Gators that made it, and a lot of different sports. I don't even want to bring them up, all of them, because I'll miss some. Like Leanne Wong is an alternate, so she's going. She's going to Paris, and she'll be able to march, and everything. And so that sometimes that's the best part. If you go with an alternate, you can just go and go, I'm marching. I don't know, I can eat Cheetos tonight because I'm probably not going to compete, But anyway, and Grace Stark, what a great job she did. There's a lot of them, Caleb Dressel, that are going to be in the Olympics. We'll try to give you a complete list when it gets all set. But a lot of Gators in the Olympics. That's really cool. Let's get to number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is that ESPN put out a way too early top 25 for basketball. Now, my first reaction was, I bet they snubbed Florida in this thing. They don't realize what's going on down here. But no, they didn't. They have Florida at 21, and which is 2 spots ahead of Kentucky. So I don't know when the last time that's happened. Maybe in 07, because 07 Florida was a preseason number 1 in every poll because they just won it and everybody was coming back. But that might have been the last time in a preseason poll of any kind that Florida was ranked ahead of Kentucky. I guarantee they weren't 14. I don't even have to look it up because nobody thought that 14 team was going to be anything special. I mean, yeah, they had some good players, but they weren't NBA type guys, and they go win 30 in a row. It was one of the greatest teams ever. So anyway, that's something I think Gator fans are excited about basketball again. I think they've gotten excited about it. I think just the wins that they got last year, the tournament, the conference tournament. Now, certainly the NCAA tournament was not the way you want it to end. You lose them by 2, and you can't play any defense. And he got another guy. I'm not even going to try his name. That's a sharpshooter, 6'1" guy who knocks down threes and gets his own shot. Keeps adding to the pieces in the puzzle. The puzzle is almost complete now. So he's doing a heck of a job, Todd Golden. Want to give him a lot of credit. I do think there's a level of excitement for basketball, probably more than football. Now, as football gets closer, that all of a sudden changes, and everybody. In fact, last year, Todd Golden couldn't understand why nobody wanted to come over and do stuff. He was opening up his practices for the media, and the media wasn't showing up. And he's like, why? He says, they said they're doing football stuff. And so he finally opened up his complete practice, the whole practice, just to get media boys over there to watch it, to talk about it, to write about it. And this is a different world, Todd. This is a world that is a football world. And if you can do great things in basketball, nobody will appreciate it more than I will. And nobody will appreciate it more than Scott Strickland. But we got to get this football thing straightened out too. All right, let's go to number 4 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. And I did want to mention this because our Division 1 or D1 college baseball or softball coach of the year is Tim Walton. And I know that award came out a couple days ago, but congratulations to Tim on that. And that is some that's not lazy voting. And you know what? I always complain about lazy voting, and it makes me mad. It doesn't mean that you can't have a different opinion than I do. But when you vote for the guy who won like if you had voted for what's her name? Her name is escaping me. I can't believe it. The Oklahoma softball coach. I got, for some reason, I had this other name in my head and I can't get it out. Anyway. If you'd voted for her, okay, great. She won it all for the 4th straight time. But no, I think that what Patty Gasso, golly, brain cramp. But if you had done what Tim did and your whole pitching staff's gone. You bring in all new pitchers. You bring in from the portal, and you can look how you do in the portal is part of being a great coach, right? So being coach of the year is what he was able to do with Jocelyn Erickson, with what he was able to do. Well, obviously with Skylar Wallace, who was a transfer at one point, with Corby Otis. I mean, he nailed it in the portal, and I think he's nailed it again for next year. So next year is a team I can see not only going to Omaha or Oklahoma City, but I can see winning the whole thing there. I know Oklahoma will be there again, and now they're in the same conference and everything. But anyway, he is deserving, and I'm happy for him. I just saw him the other night at Ballyhoo's. We were over at Ballyhoo's, and he was in there eating, and saw him and talked to him and Sam, his wife, who's great. And their son, I believe, is getting ready to play basketball at Santa Fe. I think I'm right about that, but I may be wrong. All right, so congratulations to Tim Walton. Finally, number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. Congratulations to another Gator, Sam Horsfield, who qualified for the British Open. Now, Sam played here at Florida. I think he might have started under Billy and then played under JC. I may be wrong about that too. That's the way I remember it. And has played really well on the DP tour and has won over there. But he had to go through qualifying and made it at 6 under par. But you know who didn't make it, finished 2 shots back, was Sergio Garcia. Now, Sergio's mad, as he's always mad. Sergio wakes up angry in the morning. He's ready to fight somebody. Well, they got a slow play warning while he was playing, and he's mad about it. He said the spectators are making it hard to get. You had to wait to hit because they were still milling around and everything. And look, I wasn't there. I can't tell you whether he was right or wrong. All I know is he's always complaining about something, but he won't be in the British Open. He can't complain about the greens there. But Sam Horsfield will, so we'll have to watch him. All right. That is going to do it for our Process Service of Gainesville starting 5. Appreciate Process Service and all of the great advertising they've done with us, and I hope it's been good for them too. They'll be done with us after this month. We're working on several people that are interested in jumping in. They'll get all of August free and then have all football season if they jump in right now, right at this moment. But no, there's people we're talking to anyway. All right, that'll do it for our Process Service of Gainesville. Starting 5, we'll take a break. When we come back, Ben Troupe will join us. We'll talk about a lot of things with him, including podcasts and his ability as an All-American tight end. And there's just a million things I can talk to him about. I'm looking forward to it. And we'll play Yes, No, Way, or Maybe with him, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. And he'll be coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. We have all of our other stuff to go to. We'll get to all that. You are listening to or watching another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary
bonus program.
Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great pleasure to bring in an All-American podcaster and All-American football player, and Ben Troupe joining us on today's show. Ben, how you doing, man? That you're doing pretty good with the podcast world. I know that.
Man, Pat, it's always a pleasure to be on with you. I appreciate these youngins, and when I say youngins, I mean the current crop of student athletes doing me a favor and not being in their cars when they're doing the interviews. That was the hard part when you first started doing it. But talking to softball players and volleyball players and women's basketball players is what I know I had to do my due diligence in. But they've been very, very courteous, accommodating with their time. But yeah, I mean, we're getting ready for I think we're a couple of episodes away from our 100th episode. So the fact that it's gone by that long, man, I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, 84 Reasons, if you haven't listened to it, it's unbelievable. And, I got to figure out a way to get some of those athletes on my podcast. I kind of deal with the guys that used to play that I knew back in my day, but you're doing a heck of a job, man.
Jack Caglione came on, and a lot of times, obviously I'm not going to fanboy him, but I'll tell him, I said, listen, I was going to internet stalk you. I was going to Twitter and Instagram stalk you until you came on. But they're really, really mature and poised to be as young as they are. You're not going to see a baseball player like Jack Caglione. They don't make people like that, let alone players like that. But everybody's been good, from Graham Mertz to Ricky Pearsall. I know he's moved on to greener pastures, and it's just been really, really fun for me because former players like myself get a chance to show that we still around. I've had Willie Jackson on, Terry Jackson on. I want to get Khalil Jackson on.
Yeah,
but it's been really, really humbling, Pat, because like I said, I never saw myself doing something like this. And hey, as long as they'll have me, I'm gonna keep coming on, trying to, try to enjoy these young, try to enjoy the people my age, the people a little older than me, and these 20-something-year-olds, because I'll be asking, when was you born? They'll be like 2001, 2002. I'm like, my goodness, man.
I was a junior.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts was the first one when he got drafted. Somebody reached out to me from the whoever the communication department is in Florida, asked me what I do, his voiceover, and I said, yeah. And I said, when was Kyle Pitts born? They was like, he was born in 2000. I said, I got to college in 2000. All right, that just show you how much time flies.
It does fly. And I wanted to ask you about that, though. I mean, do you think there's anybody in this crop of tight ends that Florida has that is going to be the next star? Because there hadn't been a real star since Kyle Pitts at that position.
Artis Bordenham got a shot. I mean, you look at what he was able to do last year, and I don't like it when he's catching passes. They say he got to get used to playing tight end. No, he's used to playing tight end at this point. I think it's going to come down to opportunities, and as long as you stay away from certain comparisons, once again, they don't make people like Kyle Pitts. I mean, I'm happy that he was a Florida Gator. He is a unicorn. That's about the best way to describe him. But can you have a guy like Arlis can go out there and make plays in an offense that you really don't know who's gonna be the main guy? Yeah, because mere mortals, like most of us tight ends, don't do what Kyle Pitts can do. I think it's unfair to any tight. I don't care who you. If Kyle Pitts was in Kansas City offense, that would be cheating if he a guy like that, right? But for me, Arlis Bordenham was able to make some big plays last year, some big strides last year. I want to see if he can add on to that in an offense, like I said, that's trying to find its identity, passing wise.
Yeah, and that is the other thing, and I'm sure you're curious to see how it all works out with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway, and if they're able to replicate that kind of that I think a lot of fans think that they can do with the Leak Tebow thing, but the Leak and Tebow were different animals too. Leak is the all-time leading passer in Florida history.
Yeah, I think DJ Lagway, being the young, having the mindset he has, he understands. Look, every great player needs a great player in front of them. So as great as Tebow was, if he got to come in and do that, it's different. Chris Leak kind of told Tebow, listen, find a place for yourself. He'll tell Tebow this. He'll say, look, I know you the latest and greatest. My first start, I think, in college was at LSU on the road as a true freshman. I don't think most people are going to have to deal with that. So for me, Graham Mertz coming back is the biggest news of the offseason. Him coming back, having a full year on his belt, healthy, and having a guy that's DJ Lagway, who, I mean, I ain't never seen too many 18, 19-year-olds look like that come out of high school at the quarterback position. I think that bodes well for Florida because you got your signal caller. Because the thing about the SEC, you got to have experience in it. Graham Mertz has that, had an incredible year last year. And you got a guy in the wings who you can like tutor and say, hey, this gonna be your show. It ain't gonna be your show today, but this is gonna be your show. That way, by the time DJ Lagway does step in, he has all the confidence in the world, and he hasn't been beaten up for a full year like Graham Mertz has obviously gotten used to last year.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to ask you too about, and I know you wrote a little bit about it on Twitter. Chris Patrick going into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, one of your guys, and one of my guys too, and he still calls our radio show all the time and straightens us out.
CP, oh man, Chris Patrick, CP, understood his role outside of just being an incredible trainer. He treated us like we was his own. He disciplined us. I saw him discipline Alex Brown in the training room. No one could do that but CP. And obviously he mean all the love in the world, but nobody has more respect throughout, University of Florida than Chris Patrick. So for me, I was so happy to see CP get in. I mean, if you know him, he could. I don't think that was on his bucket list. He was like, I ain't come here to be, in the Hall of Fame. He'll take it. And CP was one of the guys that when I wrote my book, man, he bought it. He sent his daughter to go get my book. When I came and spoke in Florida, him and Steve McClain was there. Chris Patrick, to me, is what the student athlete's experience is. He's the guy that he ain't gonna listen. As long as you stay on the right side of CP, you're gonna love him. Now you get to doing crazy stuff in that training room, you might not like CP because he don't play the radio now. He gonna tell you the truth, but it's genuine love coming from you. He really wants the best for every athlete. He keeps us healthy.
I did want to ask you about also, the SEC's made such a big deal about this, even though we've known about it for 2 years. Texas and Oklahoma coming into this league, and what does that mean to you? Being a longtime Gator and all that, and now these teams are coming in. It almost feels weird. But they're going to be great programs, great athletic programs. So it's just kind of a weird feeling to have this 16-team league now.
It does. It kind of goes. When I was at Florida and I used to talk about the SEC, when you talk to people who historians of the SEC, they'll say, well, this ain't the SEC I remember. They'll tell you who the original members were. Yeah. But I would say this, no greater compliment to your brand when you adding huge brands to it. Like Texas and Oklahoma, two of the biggest brands in college, no matter what. Listen, I feel sorry for you if you got to deal with Oklahoma, softball, because can't nobody beat them but Florida. We did stop the streak. We got to put that out there. And we got to get used to seeing a lot of Matthew McConaughey. We're going to see him a lot. We got to get used to seeing that. But I just think that Greg Sankey has done an incredible job of branding the SEC because it never leaked. Hey, in the world of everything leaking, I don't know how he kept that under wraps. That Texas and Oklahoma's coming to the SEC and it did not leak. But I am looking forward to it as a guy that played with guys like Vince Young and Bo Scaife and Michael Griffin that went to Texas. They would do this. Texas. I used to tell them, I said, y'all had problems beating Arkansas. Now y'all got to come over here and deal with the Floridas and the Ole Misses and the Georgias. But I think it's going to be great for the sport. I think it just, adds more prestige because you're getting the Texas relays. I don't know how long Texas, Oklahoma going to be in Texas. I mean, it's there right now. Yeah. But there's a place in Georgia called, they got a dome that I can see it going there potentially. But I'm looking forward to the addition. I know that SEC Media Days is going to be star-studded. And like I say, man, we got to get used to them booming Sooners and these Texas fans. Texas is the greatest almost team you ever gonna see. They almost won it. They didn't win it, but they will let you know we was almost there. But I am looking forward to adding to those two great additions.
Yeah, if Colt McCoy didn't get hurt in that game against Alabama, we'd have won the whole thing. I'm tired of hearing that. I did want to ask you this question because you didn't go to journalism school, right?
No, I did not go to journalism school. I will say this, my senior year was the first time I realized that they had media sessions during the week. See, when you look, until you become a priority at Florida, you walking by, you go to the meeting room, there's a bunch of players in there. So my senior year, talking to people like yourself, Pat, and Lauren, and Buddy Martin and Franz Beard. I didn't know that kind of talking after games. I didn't know that kind of stuff exists. And I know that Alex Brown and Rex Gross, I know those guys did it. So when I got a chance to do it, I was like, I realized how important it is what I say, because I'm never going to talk bad about a coach. I'm never going to talk bad about a team. And I'm never going to talk bad about a play call. And they don't give you media training. Ron Zook knew who to train, like throw him in there, right? So but do I respect the people that went to journalism school? Absolutely, because my penmanship, that ain't what I do. But
Yeah,
I do enjoy it.
I was just wondering though, because a lot of people have gone through that have become very good on podcasts and radio, and whether you were, but it's more just maybe you were just a guy that was in the locker room was cracking people up, I mean, or talking to people or giving them a hard time.
And listen, I'm a country boy from Swainsboro, Georgia. The one thing I know how to do, I can tell a good story, because that's all my grandparents did, telling stories growing up. And I know how to respect people, and I respect people by resonating with them. I'm not gonna come at I'm not gonna come at a journalist. I'm not gonna come at somebody trying to get a question asked. I've never been that, and I learned that with the Titans. They used to talk to me a lot, and I wasn't a star player with the Titans, but they said, "Well, Ben, you answering our questions. You don't shun us. You might say, give me a couple of minutes so I can, get my head together, because I don't want to do it emotional." But it's just respecting the craft, man. I think the thing with anything that I do, if I'm gonna do it, working at ESPN Radio really showed me how to do it, showed me how to ask. It's easy to answer questions. It's hard to ask them. That's the part. You gotta learn how to ask questions. My first big interview at SEC Media Days was with Kirby Smart after they had lost the national championship to Alabama. He sat down right in front of me. Gene Chiswick sat down right in front of me. Bill Curry sat down in front of me. And what I appreciate about BJ and Kevin, they didn't tell me what to ask. They said, look, let's go. He said, look, man, I can't give you no talking points. And that's how I learned how to be able to do it now. Is anybody that want to be in this business? I said, if you ain't respecting the people that you interviewing and have a conversation with, you ain't going to last, man.
All right, now it's time, as we do with all of our great guests, and of course, none better than Ben Troupe, to play Yes, No, Where, or Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Go in there and say you listen to the podcast, and you will get free fries with your order. Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. Number one on Yes, No, Way, or Maybe for you to answer here, Ben. Florida will have 2 players on the All-SEC first team this year. They haven't had many in the last few years.
Who?
Florida.
Maybe. I'll say maybe.
Yeah.
I know one. I know one. 2? I don't know if it'll be 2.
All right. Number 2. You have ever cried at a movie theater?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have cried. I have cried in the movie theater. I can't remember the name of the movie now. It's with Sylvester Stallone when they trapped under. It's like something happened. They trapped under. He's trying to get out. He's like and it was a dog scene. It was a scene where the dog fell in the water, and I thought the dog was gonna drown. I started. People yelling at me, "Shut up!" I'm like, they better forget Sylvester. They better get that dog. I do remember that.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you on that, man. Right there with you. Okay, because you're the number 3 on Yes, No, Where, or Maybe, because you're from Georgia, you don't hate Georgia as much as Brandon Spikes does. Because he was on this show 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about how much he hated Georgia.
Oh, yeah, Brandon. I'm older than Brandon, so I got some years on Brandon. Yes, I do too. Yes, absolutely. Let me say this: it's the fans. I cannot stand them. Georgia fans and Tennessee fans ain't that different, and I don't know. I don't follow y'all. I don't know why y'all be harassing me on Twitter, but I'm gonna talk trash, and I'm gonna keep saying this. I talk trash because y'all got the wrong colors on. I don't care what Florida did or didn't do. I'm talking trash. So yes, Brandon, And I know Brandon Spikes his cousin is Takeo Spikes. He went to Auburn. I'm talking trash to them too. So yes, Brandon, I hate Georgia way more than you do.
Oh, wow. Good job there. And we really appreciate you, the great Ben Troupe, All-American from the University of Florida. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for clicking on and listening and watching. And hope you're enjoying it. It's time for our Hesser and Kipke three things. And as you know, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener of this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Hey, I got a text message from Ken last night about a band. Yeah, it was pretty good. I'd forgotten about that song. They don't make them like that anymore. That song. You remember that song, right? You know that song. All right. Hesser and Kipke, let's go. Number one, three things. Tim Brando was on a podcast, radio show, whatever it was, and said that Gator fans don't understand their history. They don't understand all the things that have happened along the way, and they're the worst in the conference. And I was like, man, it seems a little mean. But I do think I don't think he's wrong. I think Gator fans are not great on history. Okay. They will tell you Emmitt Smith was the greatest running back to ever play in college. His teams barely went to bowl games. They will tell you some other things about some other teams, and they don't really embrace. Now, again, I'm not being critical here of Gator fans. They don't really embrace anything that happened before Steve Spurrier, okay? Steve Spurrier, the coach, not the player. There are some people that do. Some people that love that 84 team, love the 75 team. But most people, big Gator fans, kind of came aboard during the Spurrier time. And that's when you became a Gator fan or you didn't. And then everybody either loved or hated him. So everybody took sides. And then Urban came along and everybody stayed on those sides. And but I think to paint with that broad a brush is not fair to Gator fans. There's a lot who do know. I mean, I can name several of them that know history and know how to find history. Anyway, but we've had Timmy B on the show. He's a good friend of mine, and he speaks the truth. Now, sometimes I don't like to hear the truth. Sometimes I do like to hear the truth, but truth is truth. Nobody wants to hear anybody lying. So truth is truth. And I get his opinion. I understand it. I don't all agree with it. I can agree with part of it at some level. Anyway. All right, let's get to number 2 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. And this is not a good story. And Blake Anderson, of course, been the head coach at Utah State. And it's been a sad story because he went through with his wife, and he took a leave of absence, and she had breast cancer, and she passed away. And then his son, as a 21-year-old, committed suicide. Just a terrible story. Makes your heart bleed for him. Well, our hearts, be careful about meeting your heroes. And, everybody says that line and stuff like this. But now Blake Anderson's being told, we're going to fire you because you did not report sexual misconduct and domestic abuse properly, and you let it go. Again, I'm not there. I'm not around it. I don't know the details of it, but it does sound bad. It sounds like, and everybody's saying, well, it's a Title IX abuse. No, it's if any coach who has players on his team that he knows or thinks or has been turned into him has committed some kind of a crime or domestic abuse, or which is a crime, or anything like that, and doesn't report it. This is what got Art Briles into trouble. And doesn't report it, you're just being dumb. You're being dumb. It's just like when, and I mean, I hate to take it back to this, but Jim McElwain, death threats. And everybody wants to say there were no death threats. There was a death threat that was called in to the coach's office and left on the voicemail. One of the secretaries got it, reported it to Jim McElwain. He brushed it off, went up, did his interview, and in the middle of it, because he would say whatever he thought, I did like that about him, talked about death threats. Okay. Now, that's exactly the reason he got fired, and they didn't have to pay him as much as they did. And this is what Utah State's trying to get out of, is having to pay him anything and just getting rid of him. Which, I mean, if you're doing that because you don't think he's the right coach, that's kind of weak. But if you're doing it because you think there's stuff going on and he's not doing a good job of it, I get it 100%. That's why they had to let McElwain go. If you've got death threats on your team, you are putting your players and your coaches and everybody in jeopardy by not reporting it and letting the authorities take care of it. This would be the University of Florida, University of Police Department, State Police, everybody. Let them handle it, okay? Don't just brush it off. But anyway, I'm getting off on tangents here. Let's go to number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things, and that is the NBA is just moving all over the place. And okay, so Chris Paul is out. He's going to San Antonio, I think, and Paul George is not going to the Warriors, which I hoped he would. But and all these moves are being made, and it's almost like the transfer portal for and that's the thing. The major sports have had the transfer portal. Well, it took a while for baseball until free agency came along with Andy Messersmith. But they've always had a transfer portal in pro sports. Yeah, I want to go there. Well, your contract's up, so we may want to resign you. I don't care. I'm going there. So it's just the way it works. But anyway, the weirdest thing is this whole Bronny LeBron thing. LeBron today signs a new extension, a max deal for 2 years. I think it's $110 million. And Bronny just signed a deal with them, and they're saying he earned it, and nobody is believing him. You got a guy who averaged 5.8 points a game and had a heart condition in college. We all saw it with Keontae. Keontae didn't come right back and play, but Bronny did. And again, I'm not there. I don't know whether it's safe or not. But nobody would draft a 5-point a game player who had a heart problem at all. I mean, now you only have 2 rounds of the draft. He was next to last, or wasn't penultimate. It was I think he was 3rd to last pick. But you knew the Lakers would pick him because they wanted to keep LeBron happy. That organization is a mess, and let me tell you what, they have done nothing to help them get better. And to help, you've got AD and you got LeBron. And what have you done to help them? Nada. Bringing LeBron's son in is not going to help your team. And that's what you should be doing. Anyway, that's their problem. I can't worry about it. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. We appreciate Hesser and Kipke. Ken and Jen do such a great job. Let's get to our Adams Rib Company. Excuse me. I'm not supposed to yawn during my own podcast, but I am a little tired. Let's get to our Adams Rib Company Gator of the Weekend, and we appreciate Adams Rib Company, and appreciate this guy too very much. His name is Jack Caglione. Geez, have we ever given him an award like this? All the time, but love this guy. Gonna miss him. He's been unbelievable. But what he won this award for really stands out. He was named the All-American Academic All-American of the Year. Does that make any sense? So he was the best of all the All-Americans. Now, to do that, you got to play really well and have great grades. And the guy's got it all, man. He has just got it all. I'm not saying I would trade bodies with him and say and want to be him, because I've had a good life too. I like what I've been able to do in my life. He may be doing a podcast soon. You never know. All right. So Jack Cags, there's one more honor that goes your way. You are the Adams Rib Company Gator of the Weekend. Come on. That's better than the Golden Spikes. What are you talking about? All right. Let's go to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. We did have a winner last week, Jason Wilson, I think, and we pulled that, and I will get it to you soon. I just got my car back. My daughter had it, so I will get to the place in 2 days. 2 days time, but we'll get it to you. And again, he lives somewhere else, and I can't remember where else. Seems like maybe Virginia. So his Leonardo's, he probably won't use till he comes down for a game. So he's got time. All right. Let's give you another chance to get started on a qualifier. And again, in this time of year, we're going to have to kind of have fun with it because there's not a lot going on. Like one of them could very well be the Monday before SEC Media Days. I might do, where does Florida get picked? That might be the thing. So if you pick, say, 8th, you may get it. And I will be releasing my top 12 for the playoffs coming up in a couple of weeks too. We're working on a sponsor for that as well. So we've got some hooks in the water. Let's just see if we can reel anything in, because we want to keep going with this podcast and making it fun and having a good time with it. All right. So if you want to qualify for our Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks, you have to watch a WNBA game. You don't have to watch it. You can just look at the score and see if you got it right or not. But it is going to be New York at Indiana. And of course, we're going to get Caitlin Clark in there, but she's dominating my Twitter feed. But it's Caitlin Clark and politics is dominating my Twitter feed. I'm going to always call it Twitter. I'm never going to call it X. It's Twitter to me. Anyway, pick the winner of that game. New York at Indianapolis, or Indiana, whatever they call them. The Fever. Saturday. So you have to have it in by Saturday morning. And I'll tell you what time the game is in a minute when we do our games of the week. But get that in, and we can get you qualified for the next Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, in which case you will get a copy of Patrick Young's book signed and $25 from Leonardo's. And I have to go over there. I don't have to go over there. I love going over there. I have to get some new cards made up. I just thought about that. I think my last one is right here. Oops. Maybe it's no. Oh, you know where it is? It's right here. There it is. This is coming to you, Jason. Leonardo's Pizza. Okay. All right. Let's move along to our This, That, and the Other, which is brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, by our friends at Dar Shackow Insurance, and by Ballyhoo Grill, where we were last night. Had a nice chicken sandwich there. All right. I'm sorry. I started doing numbers. All right. This, That, and the Other, brought to you by those 3 great sponsors. All right. The This is that when I was first moved to Gainesville, I played a lot of golf at West End. In fact, we had the first few years of our tournament at West End. And then, because it kind of got over too quick and I'd worked so hard on it, I wanted to move it to a bigger course. But loved playing West End, played all my tournaments out of West End. And it was a par 3 course. Now, there were par 4s on the course. I think, 10, 13, 18, not 18. Yeah, well, anyway, there's like 6 par 4s, of course, and then all par 3s. And so I love playing there, okay? So that is that West End, of course, was purchased by somebody who decided they didn't want to keep it up. And it turned into a weed factory. I know they're doing other stuff. They're going to eventually get somewhere, and it's just disgraceful to look at, but it's sad too. And every time I drive by there, I get a little sad, especially in this golf community, which has 4 golf courses. And but anyway, the other is that my wife did something great on our trip. She made these plans. We had been in a bar, and we were at Gator's Dockside one night, and this guy was talking to us, and we were talking about golf, and he told us about this course down in Palm Beach. Said, you need to go play it. It's unbelievable. It's called he didn't say it at the time, but it's called the Raymond Floyd Palm Beach Par 3. And it's like going to a real golf course because it's a clubhouse and they have a restaurant and everything like that. And the course itself was unbelievable. It's so nice. It was perfectly manicured. The greens were a little hairy because they had punched them. It's kind of like they've done at Ironwood and UF. UF has a way of getting them down no matter what, but I haven't been out to Hale in a while. I'm going to go out there next week. So, but anyway, so they were just a little thick, and you had to hit your putts. But I did make a birdie, and Kara made her first 2 pars of her life. But we had so much fun, and that is kind of where golf is heading. I think maybe to more of those. In fact, I've heard Jack Nicklaus say people need to come up with 6-hole golf courses. And that way, people, that's all the time they really wanted to. They don't want to devote 5 hours to golf. And look, you can say, oh, well, you don't want to do that either. I go, yeah, no, I don't. I don't want to be out there for 5 hours. But when I go play, I usually find a spot, play 7 or 8 holes. I did that yesterday, played 7 holes, played actually really well. Almost had a hole in one. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was, man, that would be great if somebody would just build like a little par 3. But again, we don't have, it's kind of funny because there's a radio station here called The Beach, and we were down there and there's one called The Beach, except that one's actually on the beach, and we don't have any beaches here. It's like the St. John's River Vikings. Some things I just can't understand, but we just had a blast down there, and hopefully we can get to a point where there's more going on golf-wise here, but that's just me. Okay, let's get to our swamp games of the weekend. We'll go ahead and give you what we got. And look, there's not a whole lot going on. You know that you're in a downtime. It's getting ready to get better. We're gonna have the British Open coming up. We're gonna have the obviously the SEC Media Days coming up. That's always entertaining to watch. It gives you something to watch during the day. But it's not a whole lot. And I'm the first to agree. And this is the time when you but our vacations are kind of over now. That was the big one for us, was going away for a while. So we're just going to play a lot of golf, I think. All right. Let's start off with Saturday, Boston at New York Yankees. That's a 1:05 start on FS1 if you want to watch that. I know they try to make the best rivalry in sports. I don't know. I don't live in either city, so I don't even consider it that big a rivalry. You know what's bigger? Florida Miami's a bigger rivalry than New York and Boston. To me, it is. I mean, you can't be the biggest of anything unless everybody agrees on it, right? So anyway, I don't know why I'm in a kind of a contrarian mood today. All right, let's get to Philadelphia at Atlanta at 7:15 on Fox on Saturday. So I will be watching that. My Braves are 9 games out now. I don't really have a lot of hope of catching Philly. They're playing really good, and we've got all these injuries and everything. But I hope that they can at least get things going in the right direction and put themselves in good position for a good wild card team to play against. I don't know. This isn't our year. We just got too many guys hurt. And then Sunday, you've got Boston and the Yankees on ESPN. Yay! Greatest rivalry in sports history. Not. I mentioned that game on for the women, WNBA game, New York at Indiana. It's at 1 on CBS. So that's going to be kind of cool to get that kind of exposure for them. Look, I am kind of getting Caitlin Clark out. I got to be honest with you. I loved watching her games. I loved kind of discovering her and finding out this is something else to watch. I did enjoy it. But every time she goes to the bathroom, we don't need a tweet on it. Tweeter feed. Oh, my eyes are getting. I don't need somebody to tweet something out. I don't need to know that she was at a pool party. God, it's just getting to be too much. Kind of like it did with Taylor Swift. And even that won't go away because now they're going together and giving concerts together. Okay, where am I? All right, that was it. And then the John Deere is this weekend. The field is not great. And it's not an overwhelming field. I'll just tell you that right now. I looked all the way through it. There's a few names on there. If you want to watch it, it's either on the Golf Channel or CBS. Depends on what time you go to watch it. I'll let you figure it out from there. But you know where it is. So usually it's on the Golf Channel, and then they'll tell you when they're going to CBS. Usually it's about 3 o'clock. All right, that's going to do it for a Wednesday edition of another Dooley Noted podcast. Just moved it up today because we wanted to get one up so that you guys can enjoy it either tonight or tomorrow morning before you do your things. I think we're going out to the lake with the Martins to enjoy that on the 4th of July. And I hope you guys have a great 4th. Don't forget why we are honoring that date, because of all the brave men and all the things they did. Please do be careful with fireworks. Don't go. What was his name? Pierre Louis. The defensive lineman. He blew his hand off, but he's still playing. Can't think of his name now. All right. Just be careful is all I'm saying. All right. That's going to do it for the show. Appreciate everybody for watching, and I always appreciate Zach Rothrock for doing a great job of just carrying me. That's all he can do. He does the best he can. He just carries me. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back on Monday with Coach Spurrier, and as I said earlier, next Thursday with Billy Henson, former member of the Great Wall. We'll be back then. Until then, I am Pat Dooley saying I am deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.